Welcome, everyone. This is Tyler McKinney. I want to get right into the content, right into what we're talking about today. So, what I brought up is a really good question. Why is church sound so hard? Well, what I want to do is I kind of want to make this a video series, and I kind of want to go down kind of the line of things with you, because if you're like me, you probably have struggled with this a lot. You know, since you've been working with a praise team, since you've been running sound at your church, since you've been involved, or you're just been a church member, you're just like, why is it so difficult to get good church sound? Well, let's go ahead and let's look at that. So let's dive in. We're going to take some moments and kind of look at things. And first, I want to look at what church is compared to what we normally look at as like another event that has live music, right? So most events that have live music are different than church. And I just don't mean in a spiritual aspect, but I mean more in like a mentality aspect of what's going on. And so we really need to understand that, because once you understand that, I think that unlocks the key to what's happening here. And I really think that opens things up for you really to thrive and have success in that situation. So the difference is that you have all of these different venues, different events that have live sound. I mean, you have carnivals, you have fairs, you have concerts, big concerts, you have other situations. Like I said, a festival. You might be in a bar with a live band. So there's a lot of different areas. But most of the time, when you're in those situations, and the people that are there are really there to listen to the music, or they know that the music is a huge part of what's going on. So they're there to listen to the music. They're there to listen with the band, listen to the band. They're there as a fan of the band. They're there to dance and really be in the music. So they're there for the live music. When people come to church, some people come to church to get into the worship music, and others might not. There are people that, frankly, will never go to a concert, that go to church. And the first thing we need to look at with that is to acknowledge that and understand that's okay. Music is very powerful to a lot of people, and it moves us in very different ways. Different music for different people, but not everybody is into music. And so we need to look at that first and understand that. And understand that we have people out in our congregation that are coming to church services not just for the music. Now, they'll worship with God, and they'll worship in the music, and they'll be there in the music, and they can connect with God in that music, but they're not there for that. And so sometimes what happens is because of that, the loud music might be hard for them, or it just might not be their quote unquote style. And I know if you're like me, we're not in these big, large congregations where it's expected to have a concert-like atmosphere. Nothing wrong with that. I enjoy that. And, I'm not even going down that road. I'm just using that as just what it is, as opposed to, a smaller congregation of maybe 50 people, or even up to like, sometimes, even sanctuaries of 300 to 500 people. You're going to have that. And here's where the rub comes in with that, right? So you've got people on one hand who don't like music loud, who really aren't into the music, and then you have people who love music loud, and people are really into the music, and they really want to feel it, and they really want to be in it, and engulfed in it. And so you have these really diametrically opposed, polar opposites here. And you got to find a happy medium with that. And so what I want to do is try to find that happy medium, because I think we can, and I think we can get to that place with that, to where it's a good place for both, where the people who are really wanting to get immersed in the music can, and really just get in a worshipful state in that really can, but also that you have those people that it's not too loud for them, that they can feel comfortable in that place and getting themselves ready and prepared to get into the Word and that or communicate with God in that aspect. And so we need to find that happy balance in that medium. And one of the cool things, and my sound guys, who are sound engineers, the guys who do, pro audio install and that, they're going to hate me for this. But you can use the way that sound works to your advantage. There's a couple different type of ways that you can do sound, and the big speakers with a big speaker and it points and that's like a point source, right? So it's just a big 12 or 15-inch speaker just throwing out a lot of sound. And then you have another type of speaker, which is a line array, and you see them, they'll kind of stack them on top of each other, and you got some skinny ones, you got other ones which are big ones when you're at the big venues, right? And so what happens with those is that the wave, for lack of getting too technical, the wave of the bottom speaker, kind of like the sound kind of goes, and then they ride each other, and so that gives you kind of a more even sound in the room. And so when you have those type of speakers, they're going to cover the room better. Whereas if you have a point source, just one source of sound, it just pukes out the sound, and the sound just goes out there, and it goes as far as it can go, and it's usually louder up front, and it gets quieter as you go to the back. And so what I've found is I've been in situations with both and had great experience with both, but understood both. When you have a room that is professionally tuned, it's professionally tuned so that it sounds the same across the board, which meaning the sound levels, sounding the same sound level wise, not necessarily, I'm not talking about tone wise, which they should be about the same tone wise as well. But we're just talking about level of sound right now. So when you look at that, then so let's go ahead and let's take then, the line array, right? So it's going to sound the same. So if, you look at somebody who maybe might not like sound, their general consensus and thought process with that is, well, I don't like things as loud, so what am I going to do? I'm going to sit in the back. Well, if you got if you got line array, it's going to be sound the same across the board. So you're going to have to find a happy medium volume and stay there. With the point source on the other end, you can tailor and play to that a little bit. And I'm not saying you need to vary this greatly or whatever and not have a good sounding room. You want a good sounding room, but you can also play to those likes and dislikes of people, especially with their perception, right? So people perceive things are going to be louder up front and quieter in the back. So the people who want loud sound, they can sit up front and they can have their loud sound. And people who don't want it, they can sit in the back. And so when you can find that happy medium where the people in the back are okay and the people in the front are okay and still have a great sounding room, still send it up, to where you got good coverage, no phase points and things of that nature. But when you approach it that way and look at it, okay, how is it sounding in the back and in the corners as opposed to how is it sounding, in the front and where people are getting bombarded with the sound. Granted, we can go into way more detail with this, and you should. I mean, you shouldn't just put things up there and do that. But understanding the type of equipment that you have and that you can use it and use people's preferences and the way that they do things to your advantage is huge. So I just want to start things out. Now we're going to go into more depth and detail into looking at the sound of things, but I just want to start things off with that. Just recognizing the differences in our preferences in music and using it to our advantage. So hopefully maybe you can take that and maybe apply it to your church space. Because church spaces are also different than a lot of other venues. Most venues are, you're like in a square, right? And some bars are different too. They're different. They are a little bit harder to get good sound in because sanctuaries a lot of times are different shaped and odd shaped, and they might be a triangle or, they might not be a perfect square where you could just, set the sound pretty easily in them. But if you just kind of think about that principle and play to people's tendencies, whether, they like things quieter, so they're going to sit in the back, or they like things loud and proud, and so they're going to sit in the front. Understanding that and setting things up that way will set you up for success. Now, I'm not just going to leave you there. We're not just going to stay there. So come on back. I'm going to have more videos on this. We're going to look at that through kind of a series of working on church sound and why church sound is so hard. So hopefully we're going to be able to decode this and decrypt this. So I know I'm busy. I know you're busy. So I'm going to leave you guys. Guys, go ahead, and if you like the video, please hit the like button. If you, want to follow me, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Do those things. You know the drill. Thank you, and have a good night.